Anika, I've got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
I know you toured lots of childcare services before selecting.
Mm-hmm.
How many did Gary go to with you?
A big fat 0.
How come dads don't want to do childcare tours?
I don't know, because they're hard. Because I've been that parent that goes in, I'm fully planned. I am that type A parent that has the list of questions. And for some reason, when I go in, especially when you've got a baby in your arms, I just freeze, forget why I'm there, ask maybe 1 or 2 from my list, and then walk out and have no idea whether I even liked that service or not.
Do you know what I also think it is? It's that choosing an early learning service for your little one, to choose someone to look after your child when you can't be there with them, that is a massive decision. That is emotional. That is it's one of the biggest decisions in a parent's journey, right?
Exactly.
I think that's why we find it so bloody hard.
It is hard, and that's exactly why we're going to talk to an expert today about how to nail a childcare tour, the things you should be looking for, the big watch outs, and what are the green ticks, so that we make it easier for you as a parent, because hell knows we need this to be easier.
I've got so many questions for her. I cannot wait to meet Cass.
Today we're joined by Cassandra Stark, founder of the Childcare Concierge and Advisory, and a true insider with 15 years experience across every corner of early childhood education. She's been a nanny, an educator, a room leader, a centre director, and most importantly, perhaps a parent who knows firsthand just how hard it can be to find the right childcare provider for your little one. Welcome, Cassandra.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Hi, Cass.
Hi.
I just want to say I'm really excited to have a chat with you, because you are special in the sense that you're kind of like a magical unicorn, in that you have worked in early education and care, you've been an educator, you have your own children, so you can cover both perspectives. So we're super looking forward to hearing your parent perspectives, but kind of through the lens of being an experienced educator who knows a lot of things that other parents might not.
So firstly, I know that when you go on tours, it's really easy to be distracted by things that everybody tells you are important. What are the shiny things that parents often kind of get hooked up on that don't actually matter as much as they think?
That's a really good question. And I think you hit the nail on the head with shiny. Everyone likes to see the shiny, the clean, aesthetically pleasing service. They're not always the best one. Yeah, absolutely.
That's been me.
Haven't we all?
Yeah.
I mean, or, shiny, they're looking at, and this is going to be a little bit controversial, but an exceeding rating or an excellent rating. Those things are online for everybody to see, but they're also not the be all and end all of early childhood education and care. And sometimes a parent will just say, this looks great on paper, I'm going to send my child here, and just trust what they read versus what they actually see in practice.
Such good insight as well. And I think it is hard to tell the difference and, not to be distracted. They're exceeding, you just trust them implicitly.
Oh, yeah.
And given everything you've learned supporting families, and then, you've been in the system yourself, you've had to choose childcare for your daughter.
Oh, yeah.
What are the things we should be paying attention to then?
So when we're actually touring a service, I'd be looking at not just how educators communicate with the children or engage with the children, but how that's reciprocated by the children. So we're looking at how the children are engaging with the educators. Are they sitting there silently because all of a sudden there's been an announcement that a tour has come around, so everyone's quick on the mat and they're all sitting there silently just being like, I don't know where we're up to in the story? Or are they actually having genuine experiences with the educators where you can see the love and the relationship that's actually there?
So interesting, because I know I'm guilty of this. When you're on a tour, you're so focused on speaking to someone that I always forget to just stop and watch what's going on. I mean, I think it can really tell you a lot, but guilty as charged. You're just so focused on asking the right questions that you're right, like watching how the kids are behaving and how that relationship they have with the educator is so important.
Absolutely, because children can't fake it. Educators can.
Such a good point. Such a good point.
So, Cass, if you walk into an early learning service on a tour and you see that all the blocks are perfectly stacked away in the shelves, there isn't paint or textures or any signs of play and fun around, Is that like, oh, fab, this place is clean, very organized, wonderful? Or are you thinking something else?
I'm thinking something else completely. I have been on tours where you'll walk into a room, looks absolutely gorgeous, but the children are all locked outside. The rooms themselves, they look like display rooms. They have all the gorgeous resources and beautiful photographs and children's learning and all of that, but it hasn't been touched and it hasn't been played with. I would actually say that that's a red flag.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
What I would actually say to that is there are some services where you can go on tours on weekends or in the evenings. Now, how the room is presented during those moments is vastly different to what you are going to see day to day. So I would say if you are going to go on a tour evening or a weekend tour where there are no children there, take that as a nice amuse-bouche, so to speak, before you actually go in and see what the children are doing and who they're talking to and what they're actually allowed to be learning with rather than simply looking at.
Do you think in that case by touring on a weekend or an evening that you're missing out on a piece of the puzzle? Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think so too. I mean, we can only make certain things happen with busy parents, especially full-time working parents. But yeah, it does feel like a massive part of the puzzle is missing.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. It's great to see the service set up in all its glory. But at the end of the day, you're not there to see the pretty shiny. You want to see how children are being engaged with, the learning that's actually occurring in the space, how the educators talk to each other in a sometimes really stressful environment. You know, we got to credit where credit's due. Early childhood is a challenging environment to remain composed in sometimes. So how you work with your team members is really important during those moments.
If I go into a service and maybe the educators don't have a moment to pause or to the capacity kind of look up and say, hi, welcome, thanks for visiting. Is that a little bit worrying, or should I not think like that? Is it different for every place?
I think that that's quite nuanced. I don't think that there is a one-size-fits-all approach. I'm a big fan of respecting a child's space to learn without being interrupted. Taking things slow, taking things easy, going at the child's pace. Sometimes there are children that need a little bit of that extra TLC. Now, don't get me wrong. We should absolutely be at least looking up and acknowledging when a parent comes into the room. But if I'm dealing with a child who's really, they might be completely beside themselves and they really need me in that moment, I'm going to hold space for that child. And the expectation, I suppose, from myself as a parent and an educator is that if my child was going through that, I wouldn't want somebody to put my child down and say, wait a second, I have to go and greet an adult right now. As adults, we can breathe. We can be patient. We can have that moment to give space for somebody else's needs.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really important point, because when you're touring a centre, you do want to meet the people that will be looking after your child and stuff. And I suppose if I'm a mum and I walk in and someone doesn't even have time for me, it's easy to feel like they haven't kind of acknowledged you. But I absolutely agree with what you said there. Maybe that is a sign that they're a great educator.
Yeah, because the duty of care is to that little one in that moment. Correct. And then when they have the time and they think it's appropriate, then they engage with you.
Absolutely.
Fabulous. So you're right. If they're an educator at that service, that little one that they're looking after at that moment is their priority.
I'm going to change the subject a little bit.
Okay,
a bit of a gear shift.
Okay.
I want to talk about safety. It is such a big topic. It's something that everybody, myself included, are absolutely scared, worried, concerned about, and for good reason.
Absolutely.
When you're touring a childcare centre, how could you possibly know that that centre is doing the right thing to keep your child safe? What can I look for? What can I ask?
I would say huge green flags are having elements of the child safety standard dotted around your service. Now, this is particularly in Victoria, where we've got the child safe standards. They have been embedded, or they should have been embedded for a while now. So if you're not seeing clear indicators that those are being embedded at the service, red flag.
Yep.
You also want to see things about mandatory reporting and reportable conduct around the service as well, not just, we've got a poster here and this is how we should do it. It should be really well embedded in the service. You want to see it everywhere. If we're looking at, child safety from a general perspective, particularly, obviously my skill set is Victoria in particular. So we're looking at things like digital safety, where you could talk to them about how they have implemented digital safety around their children, what use of iPads, mobile phones, etc. Now, if anyone who's been following the child safe issues that are going on at the moment, there have been multiple services caught out in New South Wales using personal devices in childcare centres since those changes came in. So even though these things are coming in, it's important to ask questions relevant still to those issues, obviously. How are you maintaining digital safety? How do you respect a child's voice? How do you make sure that your educators are towing the company line? So health and safety, obviously very important. But you also want to make sure that children have, and it's a simple thing, water bottles down at their level. Yeah. It's a big one.
It is.
You
I
want
wouldn't have thought of it.
Observe the way that educators are talking to children. So you can tell if someone has a general care for a child's safety just by listening to them talk. Things as simple as maybe if, during a nappy change, or I'm about to take a child to the change room to get them dressed for whatever reason, talking them through that and respecting if they say no, all right, here's an alternative.
Yeah.
You might not want me to change you, but Sherry at the back, I know that you love her to bits. Let's go get Sherry and Sherry can change your nappy rather than me. You're feeling uncomfortable. So looking out for things like that when it comes to child safety as well is really important. Obviously, you're going to want to ask about mandatory reporting and reportable conduct. But it's also important to sometimes ask the educators these questions as well, rather than just your tour guide. And you can come at it from a place of love as well. You don't have to go in guns blazing being like, what do you know about mandatory reporting?
Yeah.
That's honestly going to get you nowhere. But if you can have these conversations as naturally as possible by an educator who may have the time to come over and say, hey, I'm Cass. It's so nice to meet you. Thanks for coming and having a look at our service. I really love it. I'm really glad that you've chosen to have a look. That educator is going to have time to actually say, yeah, I've got time to talk to you about mandatory reporting or reportable conduct. Another big one about safety is also their professional development that they're doing, even like outside of the mandatory reporting or reportable conduct. Is what they are doing proactive or reactive?
I love that.
So asking them about the various professional development sessions that they may have had with their team, staff meetings and what they cover in those moments as well, super important. There's also things, and parents never ask to see it, the quality improvement plan.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what's that?
The quality improvement plan is basically where services put all of their strengths, all of their weaknesses, and what they're working towards as a service. Mm-hmm. So, for example, a service might say that they have an exceeding area in communication with parents. Great. But what does that actually look like? They have to list all the ways that they are exceeding expectations when communicating with families. And the QUIP actually covers all 7 quality areas of the National Quality Framework.
So you can ask to see that.
You can ask to see that.
I would have never thought to ask. Like it's kind of like the ratings of the ratings, but I didn't realise you
can see all of it. And that actually needs to be given to the Department of Education before assessment and rating, or when they get notified of assessment and rating. So it has to be updated at least before that. And it really is supposed to be a living document.
Okay.
So if you notice that it hasn't been like written in for a really long time, or it hasn't been contributed to in a really long time,
reactive.
Yeah.
Not proactive.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So definitely looking at all of those things.
So we're on a tour.
Yes.
And I personally get really frustrated because I think you can download so many generic tour guides. And so I feel like every parent, me included, goes on a tour and probably asks the same questions.
Yes.
You are someone that tours childcare centres very frequently. What are like your gold nugget questions that you would ask on every tour?
I like to ask, is your current service manager the same one that took you through your most recent assessment and rating?
Good one.
I like that one for a number of reasons. Firstly, it gives you a bit of an understanding of if the quality that was expected then is the same quality that you should expect now to see when you walk through. If you walk through and you see that it doesn't necessarily match an exceeding rating or what you would expect an exceeding rating to look like. It was probably just done for show on the day, and everyone's just gone on their merry way. Services get boosted with educators on that day. They get a lot of additional help for those moments, those assessment and ratings. Some services don't, but particularly large orgs, unfortunately, because they have the capacity to do so. Okay. So why not showcase their best? The other reason I like that question is because if there has been a change of leadership, when was that? Because it often takes a good 12 months for the service to settle after a new service manager has come in. And that can look like really high turnover. So it is not uncommon for a new director to come in and all of a sudden there is an exodus of educators or support staff. So parents do need to be aware of that and expect it.
Cass, am I right? Is it 3 years between assessments for the NQS?
Look, it should be.
It should be. Three or more then, right?
Yeah, 3 or more. I mean, from what I've experienced walking around, like touring and whatnot, and this is no dig at the Department of Education or our authorised officers. They work incredibly hard and they do an amazing job, but they're also extremely understaffed. They're understaffed and they don't have the capacity to do what they need to do in order to keep our little ones safe and our profession as a whole in good nick, really. So, yes, it should be 3 years, but at services that may have no issues, so to speak, you know, no parent complaints, no whatever, they might have an exceeding rating, they might have an excellent rating, they don't get seen for ages.
It's a really good point. So I think outside of that too, to check the date that they were rated, like such a simple thing to look at because it does tell you at the ratings, doesn't it?
Does. A lot of parents. So I mentioned to you the other day that, you know, you'll go past a service in your car or walking and they have their exceeding the NQS like plastered as like a badge of honor on their front gate. And you're like, that's so fantastic. In my head, I'm like how long ago was it that you received that rating? Yes. I'm pretty sure your services changed hands in that time. You have a new provider, you probably have a new director or new staff. Yeah. So maybe 3 years ago it was exceeding at that time. But so much changes in these services for so many different reasons.
Absolutely.
And sometimes, absolutely, they are for the better. Yes. And I just want to make that super, super clear. But you cannot really just take that NQS rating and that badge of honor on the front gate as I'm going to choose that one over that one.
No, you're spot on. You're exactly right. And you shouldn't. In fact, some of the advice that I give families who come to me specifically is obviously get on the wait list before conception. Because we know. So I'm talking like as soon as you start trying, you should start touring childcare centres because any of the quality ones have at least a 12-month wait list. And even then they put siblings as a higher priority. So there's all that as well. The other thing that I suggest is 6 months before you are due to return, even if you are completely sold on the place, go and have another look. Just go and have a secondary look. Services change so quickly. They get taken over by larger providers, things like that. And even just the leadership may not change, but the company providing the overarching policies and procedures, they will change. Okay. And so there can be differences in quality in that regard too.
On that subject of tours, and, you know, we're putting kids on wait lists before they're born and things. How many centres should we really be looking at?
I don't think that there is a golden number.
Okay.
I toured 13 to find my daughter's service.
13.
And people are going to just roll their eyes at me now and just be like, far out, Cass, you are just being way too overzealous here. But the problem is, you know, you go in, you know what you're looking for, and you see things that potentially may not rub another parent the wrong way or whatever. There is no golden number.
Until they jump online and have a listen to your videos and they'll know what they're supposed to be looking for. Then we will all be looking at 13 services before we choose one.
The highest number that I've heard was 23.
Oh, my goodness.
And they came to me because they were decision fatigued.
Yeah.
They had seen too many services and they could no longer discriminate one from the other. So we had a conversation about what that looks like, what notes they had taken, yada, 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 to try and figure out, okay, which one was actually the winner. And we knuckled it down to 2. She went back, had a look at those 2 and was able to make a final decision.
So is there an absolute minimum number you should tour? Like, is it a minimum 2 or is it a minimum 3? Like, I've got 0 time, I need to make a quick decision.
Yeah.
What's the minimum I can get away with? And you think I still could make an informed decision?
I think 3.
Okay.
I think you need to have 3. You got the good, the bad, and the ugly, so to speak. Well, that's probably a poor use of words. But, I would have a look at least 3.
Okay.
And that's so that if you do see one that you absolutely love, you have at least 2 more to compare it to.
Yeah.
You don't want to walk in and think, wow, this place is amazing. Look at all the resources, because you might think that it's absolutely fabulous. Then you walk into the one next door or a couple of houses down or whatever, and you see that they have more experiences available for the needs of your child.
I've talked to lots of parents about their childcare services. Granted, these are happy parents, but
Yes.
I've talked to them about that decision-making process, and all of them told me that they toured multiple services, but they knew within a few minutes of sort of walking through the door whether a service felt right or didn't feel right. I've had some parents say that they've even they've kind of gone in and and walked out before doing the tour.
Yes.
How valuable is that feeling? And interesting, because I do wonder how a parent sort of outsources this side of things to someone else like yourself.
Yes,
when
that's so fair.
the gut feel, I feel with this massive life decisions for your very special little one is so important. How do people outsource it, and how do you still recommend that they go and check for themselves?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, after you visited and you sort of shortlist?
So often the process with using somebody like myself is a free discovery call. Following that, we'll do a proper, what is it that you actually need? What are you actually looking for? Do you know the type of care that you are after? Do you want a small service or a big service? And sometimes we'll talk about, the differences between the pros, the cons, etc.
Do most parents have an idea, or are most of the ones you're talking to, they have no idea what they should be looking for?
It really depends. A lot of parents have either decided whether or not they want to use a large service provider.
Okay.
They already know that.
Is it a deal breaker if a service is privately owned or for profit to you?
I don't think so.
You?
No.
In all the services you've seen?
Absolutely not. I've seen some really poorly run private services. I've seen some really poorly run not-for-profits with both large and small providers. This is not a one-size-fits-all issue. It's a national issue, and it's through every layer of early childhood education and care, whether it be, long day care, kinder, family day care, nannies and au pairs. It's throughout the entire profession. So I don't think the blanket for-profit provider is necessarily, I don't think that you're going to get good and bad throughout the entire profession.
Yeah, I don't think you can tar them with the same brush.
I don't think that you can.
So a parent who is starting to look at their options and they have this list of 5 services, it would not be a great decision on their part to go, oh, well, these 3 are privately owned.
Yeah.
I'm going to ignore those and just go to the not-for-profit services because they're better.
Yeah.
That is not an accurate way to compare.
Not. In the same way that you wouldn't say, I'm only going to look at services with an excellent or exceeding rating.
Right. We know now, we've talked to you about why that's a little bit of a risky move.
Exactly. There are some fabulous services that may have been rated meeting 2 or 3 years ago, right?
Totally.
But then they get a change of leadership, or something happens, a world event happens and something changes. Same with these excellent and exceeding services. The thing is, my job or my business is not to be the only voice and the only opinion that there is. So what I will generally do is I will, hear from these families what they want, what they need, what their families are actually like. If they're night shift workers, for example, a traditional long daycare is not going to be appropriate for them. We might have to look at family daycare. We might have to do some nanny vetting for them. The best thing about family daycare is that it's got different hours, but it's still funded by CCS.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Common misconception that it's not. It
exactly.
is. Yeah. Nanny's not.
Nanny is
family
not.
Daycare,
but
yes.
there are a lot of people trying to make that change to give parents more options because I think, universal childcare in and of its own assumes that all parents and all families have the same needs and children with the same needs.
Can you tell me what are your personal red flags when you are on a childcare tour?
A red flag is any sort of yelling or foul language in front of the children, any sort of manhandling of the children. The moment I see that, that's me done with the tour. I respect my clients, and parents should respect themselves enough to say, actually, I'm done with this tour. I've just seen this. I'm out of here. This is not worth my time. Also, children being left unaccounted for. I have walked in, and it's horrifying to say because these things do happen, right?
Of course.
But they are not the sort of thing that you would assume you would see on a tour. So when it happens on a tour, you get out of there. So a child being left on their own in a space is a huge, huge red flag when you're in on a tour. Accidents happen, like I said, but it shouldn't be happening when someone's coming around to have a look at the space. Another red flag for me would be a lack of security at a service. So
is that just like the login code at the front door or the iPad that you sign in on?
Yeah, login code, sign in. I really love an ID check.
Okay.
I think that shows that it is a safety-first organisation. Now, some people might say it doesn't matter about ID if the child's not getting picked up or if there's not a child being picked up. But there are parents, unfortunately, that do have intervention orders. There are parents that do have intervention orders. There is nothing stopping them from putting a fake name down and touring a service to get access to a child. So that checking of the ID, whilst some people might say it's overkill, I think that it's really important.
No, I think it's a really good point you raise about the access because I know we went to a community kinder and the access to the whole centre was kind of through the yard and there was a punch-in code at the gate and some of the children had learnt the code by watching their mum or dad put it in.
Yes.
And so it's just a really old school one. It was very much a community kinder. And so they had to keep changing it, but it was their only line of security technically from anyone from the public getting in. So, once the kids know this stuff and they can tell anyone, you know what kids are like.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't think about it when I was there, but when you said that, I'm like, oh my goodness, yes that is a risk.
Totally.
Yeah, because that was the only kind of thing. And then they trusted that they knew your face.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what's to say that there's not a casual educator on that day that might not be fully up to date with everything that's going on with each individual child? So it's a risk.
It is. And on the flip side, we'll go for the green flags.
Green flags.
What are the green flags that you walk into a centre, you're like, yes, tick, tick, tick.
Like you're straight on the phone to the family and like, oh my gosh, this was amazing service.
Yes. So I toured a service recently and I walked in and I was greeted so beautifully by the tour guide and the admin and the assistant director. So what does that tell you?
Do they roll out a red carpet for you, Cass?
No, they had 3 people available.
Amazing.
Which means they are not on the floor in ratio at the time of the tour because they don't have to be.
Yeah.
That tells me that their leadership is not going to be burnt out.
Okay. I would never have thought of that because I always look for the ratio in the rooms because, there's minimum ratios, but are they actually abiding by that? But that is something I hadn't thought of.
Yeah. Okay. If for whatever reason they can't help you, it's probably because they're in ratio. And you don't want that. Not really.
No.
Yeah.
Anything else that's like a obvious flag?
I would say a green flag is also a really flexible routine. particularly in those younger rooms. Children are unpredictable at the best of times. And when we're in a home environment, we can make those adjustments ourselves. But you don't want your whole routine to be thrown because, nursery has said, well, your child has to eat lunch at 11:30 and they have to go to bed at 1 o'clock.
Yep.
Yeah.
But Cass, the ability or the capacity for educators and for a service to be flexible to these different needs of children, like you mentioned, that depends on really having strong management and ensuring there are lots of people around to help, right?
Absolutely. Well, you would think so. Not you, like a general you. You'd think so. But, sometimes in nurseries, for example, where the ratio is 1-4, yes, there are challenges, but the team in there, if they are properly trained, it's not an issue. Yes, they are going to have hard days and tricky days, but what a good service manager will do is say, if you need me, call me, I'll be there straight away.
Okay.
You want to be able to, the educators to have that sort of access, or rather than we've got an extra educator for XYZ, it's, do you need some extra support in your room? They can come in, not necessarily to change the nappies, because guaranteed that extra support does not know those children. And it's really important, particularly in those intimate moments, that, children are with their preferred educators just for safety and respect. But just to be in the room as another sort of person to be with, a person to learn from, another way of being. So I think that it is possible. It's not always easy, but it is absolutely possible.
For anyone listening that feels like they need some extra support around kind of making that huge decision for childcare, can you tell us how you go about supporting families and how they can get in touch with you?
Yeah. So I do it in a variety of different ways. It's very family specific. There's no one size fits all approach, just like there is no one size fits all approach to early childhood education and care. I do it in a number of ways. It could be as simple as creating a shortlist for families, and that can be as detailed or, not so detailed as a family wants. I can do a ring around to the various services that they may be thinking about and just asking some overall more compliance-based questions just to get the nitty-gritty out of the way, and then they can go in and tour and get the vibe. And that's
doing
nice.
That heavy admin side.
Do the asking the kind of uncomfortable questions that sometimes I get audible sighs over the phone from.
But they're the things that most parents don't know to ask, therefore don't ask, and a service director probably isn't expecting to be asked that by
so when
your
I
average
sometimes
parent.
press those kinds of questions, they sometimes do get uncomfortable, but it's all to ensure the safety of children at the end of the day, and also the happiness of the parent. I mean, let's be real, if a parent loves a service, they're not going to leave, and that is better for the childcare provider at the end of the day. I also actually tour on behalf of families as well, but I also tour with families. So a parent may say, hey, Cass, I'm trying to decide between two services. Would you mind coming in with me? And we can go through it together. And that's when I'll ask them the nitty-gritty questions or, what have you. It's very multifaceted. It really is whatever a parent needs.
Whatever the need,
It's a concierge service.
Yeah,
it really is.
I love it. No, it would have been helpful when I had baby brain. I went into some tours and I remember walking out and being like, I don't remember what I asked. I don't remember what they responded with. I have no idea.
Yeah.
So can see that would be very helpful. Kate, do you want to finish with our Fast Five?
Oh, yeah, my Fast Five.
Hit me.
Fast Five is literally you just either have to say important, not important, or somewhere in between. Or depends. You can say it depends answer.
All right.
Okay.
Are you ready? Brand new purpose-built modern facilities versus an older style building.
Not important.
Not important.
Not important.
It's fast, Kate, move.
Sorry, the first phone call. When you pick up the phone and the service answers your first interaction with them on the phone, is that important or not important?
Super important.
Are you sure I can't ask a follow-up? Okay, sorry, this is like my worst nightmare. Size of the outdoor play spaces, important?
Oh, I'm going to say yes, it is important. It is important, but it's also child dependent.
I think we know the answers to this one, but doing an in-person tour versus just browsing online?
Always.
Super important.
Super important.
And lastly, checking out more than one service in real life. Important or not
Super
important?
important.
how important is it to read the reviews of other parents who have used the service?
So it is important, but it's nuanced. I think reviews are very important, but it's important to read those reviews properly and the dates that those reviews have been left.
Yep.
Because if you see that over 1 month, 50 reviews have been given and they're all 5 stars, nah.
There's been an incentive there.
Yeah, take those with a grain of salt. What you want is consistent positive reviews over time. We are working with children. We are working with people. There are going to be occasionally some bad reviews because no one can get everything right 100% of the time.
Correct.
But as long as you keep that in mind, reviews are incredibly important.
And also really important to note that a service's response to a review that might not be super positive.
Absolutely.
That tells you a lot about that service, how they manage that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, you might just get a provider ignoring them flat out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really love that. I don't love that.
I'm sorry, Genevieve, we have never met you before and your child has never attended our service.
I've seen those. It's so awkward. You're like,
we do not know you. There are probably other ways to handle it. And I've seen some really, really great responses from services. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
It tells you a lot reading those responses to the negative reviews.
Absolutely. Reviews are really important.
It's a little hot tip when you're looking at the reviews. It's how you interpret them.
Yes.
But end of the day, the motto is go and check the service out for yourself.
Go and check the service. Even relocating families, they may not have the capacity to look at all 15 because they might need to hit the ground running. Well, that is where I come in.
Yeah.
I will go and look at those 15 services and say, based on what I know about you, I'm going to recommend A, B, and C. Go look at those 3 and tell me what you think. If you don't like them, we'll go back to the drawing board. No worries.
Pretty cool to have someone like you, in our corner in a really important, life choice for families. Because originally I was like, it's so strange to me that a family would outsource this very, very personal, important task in life. But actually, I guess what you are, Cass, is more like you are someone in
like
our
a guardian
corner.
angel.
Yeah, well, that's the vibe.
Make the right decision. Like it's just a helper person, which we all need, especially as busy mums, especially when you're returning to work and you're stressed.
Especially if you have, if it's your first little one, you have no experience in early childhood education, and you don't know what the hell you should be looking for. It's pretty cool to have someone like you there to like hold your hand and take you along.
Thank you so much, Cass, for spending the time to chat to us today. It's been so, so good.
Could keep chatting, as you can tell, but you can see the time there.
Yeah, I was about to say, we'll leave Cass's details in the show notes in case you want to get in touch with her if you are looking for childcare. But thank you for your time. It's been wonderful.
My absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank
Cass. You. Kate, that was so great chatting to Cass. I feel like I got so many tips. I have notes in my notebook.
I just want to go away and write down all the tips that she shared with us that I hadn't thought of in the same way.
Yeah, I agree. And I hope that for all our listeners that it makes that touring childcare centres that little bit easier, it takes a little bit of pressure off, and that you got a few tidbits from today that will make you go, yes, I can do this.